In preparation for this episode, I decided to watch the 2010 film The Social Network about the invention of Facebook. And during the watch, I learned two things. One, misogyny is an excellent motivator for innovation. And two, Andrew Garfield has been hot for at least 13 years. Thanks for tuning in to CTRL+S. My name is Basie, and today I'm in my childhood bedroom with my figurative rose-colored glasses on, ready to scream into a podcast mic about things that happened before I was born. Let's get started, shall we? I'm fascinated by old web design. It reminds me of the days I spent on Tux Paint in elementary school and the computer lab, messing with paintbrushes that splattered little graphics on my screen, and making word art in Microsoft Word. In the 90s, everyone was learning how to surf the web at the same time, and they were building it as they went along. Most websites created by the average internet user weren't always pretty, and some of them were just downright broken from the get-go. With dial-up, pages took several seconds to minutes to load, sometimes with a lackluster result. Even still, I think there's a charm to these old websites that a lot of today's just don't have. They present the stories of people's lives, their interests, and their skills, which sounds familiar in the age of social media. But these old personal pages have this sense of digital ownership that's all but gone today. And I like scrolling through Instagram as much as the next Gen Z kid, but my page isn't really mine, is it? Compared to the accounts in my social media orbit, there's not much different from page to page. Everyone gets a grid or a timeline, all with the same color text and dimensions. You can change your name, maybe add some cool characters to it, slap a profile pic on, and maybe have a nice looking header depending on what platform you're on. But that's kind of it. In order to get a more frictionless experience, we sacrificed customization somewhere along the line. Fun fact about me, I love to knit and crochet. And in many cultures, there's a variation of this superstition that you should leave a mistake in your crafts. In the Amish community, it's a mark of humility. Chinese culture uses mistakes as a meditation on imperfection itself. There's also a dubiously sourced Irish myth that your mistakes allow the soul you put into your pieces to escape once you've finished. And while mistakes can be frustrating, I've become a little more accepting of them with these myths. They remind me that I'm human, and I created something beautiful with my own two hands, stitch by stitch over hours, days, or weeks. And while looking through old websites, I saw the same thing. Broken links became fingers slipping to miss Ctrl+Z. Orange text on a black background became someone's favorite color combo. Cluttered graphics became little photo galleries. And the amateur sociologist in me, the little philosopher that I've kind of nurtured since I've gotten to college, was just completely overwhelmed by the minutia. And it was very simple. Someone wanted to make a website, so they learned to code and found somewhere to host it. There was no drag and drop. There was a barrier of entry that those passionate enough decided to jump over. And does it all look good? No. Is some of it completely useless? Absolutely. And does some of it make me cringe? Yes. But since when is cringe a crime? For now, let's take a step back in time. If you want to make a website today, you can easily pick something like Wix, WordPress, or Squarespace. Pick from some templates and drag and drop whatever you'd like in there. You could pay to get a nice shiny domain name or host it under the companies. But back in the 90s, you had to build a website from scratch. There were many services you could host a website on, but I'm going to talk about GeoCities today. GeoCities launched in 1995 to host websites for internet users for free. And users could upload their code and pick a neighborhood for their website to live in. Area 51 held fantasy and sci-fi content. Paris held romance, poetry, and art sites. There were more neighborhoods for things like children's sites, restaurant recommendations, sports, and shopping. My dad told me he had a GeoCities website in college about genealogy, which he still loves to research even one Macy later. My point is, it was super accessible to the average user if you wanted to learn to code. Again, there were no drag and drop features here, just pure, raw HTML and a dream. GeoCities was so popular that Yahoo bought the company in 1999. It was the third most visited website at the time with over 38 million pages, just behind Yahoo itself and AOL. Yahoo decided to shut down GeoCities in 2009. There were some issues with third-party integration now that the Web 2.0 era was upon the internet and mobile was on the rise. There would need to be some sort of standardization for websites instead. Anyway, Yahoo did provide a torrent file of their GeoCities servers before it shut down, preserving a whole terabyte of websites. That's the storage capacity of about 125,000 Game Boy cartridges or about 143 CDs, which are units of measurement I will be advocating for instead of the metric system. There are a few groups that have stored this data for our viewing pleasure, and I'm going to link Restorative Land's GeoCities project in the description since it's the site I use to browse the archive. Okay, so let's talk about what happened once these websites went away. Many were already abandoned, so where did everybody go? Say it with me, social media. And for the low, low price of your personal data, you can log onto a site where everyone's profile looks the same and your chance of encountering flat earthers is exponentially higher. Maybe that's a bit pessimistic, but the amount of people I see fabricating their own realities online each day is honestly bonkers. Facebook and MySpace were the earliest true social medias, but before that there were forums and chat rooms, and if you talked to people there, you'd have to link them to your website or something else. And now you can message people and they can see your personal page in one place. The idea of having a centralized location for all your stuff is really cool, even today. You could use Facebook like my mom, or you could use Instagram, YouTube, and Tumblr like me. It's all about what fits your needs. And as the web moved into the 2.0 era around 2008, people's needs were mobile. I think that's largely a good thing. I think most people would agree. Phones are cheaper than computers, and the free flow of information changed the world forever. It's nice to have that in your pocket. More people have access to information and can connect with their communities and even step outside them. But after looking at those old GeoCities sites, I opened Instagram on my phone and I was bored. It's white, it's plain, squares and circles, and it runs on an algorithm, so the content that rises to the top often looks or at least feels similar. And there are great creators on Instagram, and I love being able to connect with my friends, but if I could turn my profile pink and put a spinning gif of Hello Kitty on it, you better believe that I'd do it. And I'm not sure how countercultural this idea is, but I believe you can still be professional and intelligent regardless of your outer appearance, and that extends to the things you put online. Obviously, don't be bigoted or inappropriate, that's not what I'm talking about, but you should be able to show off your personality. We're only now starting to accept that dyed hair and piercings don't affect your ability to be a good employee, so I don't know how long it's going to be before I can keep my cute little stickers on my laptop and still be taken seriously. Extending yourself onto the internet opens you up to judgment, both with how you present yourself online and how your online self represents you. And spiritually, I think I would feel more represented by something I could customize myself beyond profile pictures and bios. However, I'm not going to pretend there aren't upsides to moving over to social media sites. If you want to be professional, it's nice to have a professional-looking site to go off of. Big tech sites have a sleek, minimalist, and neutral look to them right now, which is what's popular for all brands since everyone has an online presence. You have a jumping-off point to learn how to make content you know will be popular. And users intuitively know how to get to you, which gets their foot in the door, and now you just have to stand out. Social media also makes advertising pretty easy. This is great if you're a brand, but not as great if you're a user. If everybody's posting squares and rectangles, make your ad a square or a rectangle. And making ads look like regular content is a science that's really progressed over the last few years. Authenticity is a currency, and it works wonders on TikTok especially. I think this is kind of annoying as a user, but I actually work in marketing and social media, and it's pretty easy for me, someone who's been on the internet her whole life, to create marketing that feels real. Ethically questionable? Depends on who you ask. When I think about it too hard, it does make me cringe at myself, but I tend to choose jobs and projects that I believe in, which makes them less difficult to peddle to others. Also, now that everything looks the same, that makes it easier to determine what's out of the ordinary. Typos and pop-ups with sketchy links stand out within this homogeneous landscape. That can prevent people from falling for more traditional scams, but it also means that scammers have invented new methods of screwing with people. I probably see at least 2 fake sugar daddies a month in my DMs promising me weekly paychecks for being so adorable. With there being only a handful of super popular social media sites, it's likely that your favorite people, your family and friends, and the content you like are going to be in the same easy-to-access place. You can see the whole world online and learn anything you want to know about anywhere, and even talk to people directly that can tell you about their own experiences and perceptions of the world. That's a really cool concept to me, and it's why it baffles me that some people don't think diversity is important. The perspective I've gotten from people of different races, cultures, and nationalities has been invaluable in shaping how I view the world. So, everyone is here. That's awesome. But also, everyone is here. Social media is the great equalizer at its best, letting anyone rise to fame and prominence, but that means people with icky agendas can do that as easily as saints. Not to mention the absolute fist fights I've seen in Twitter replies. I had a TikTok go viral a few weeks ago, which got over 3 million views out of nowhere. That's never happened to me before. And it was about curvy women like myself. And I mentioned that it's unrealistic for our partners to expect a curvy girl that won't have a bigger stomach or stretch marks. That was kind of the whole thesis of the video. And it only took about 20K views for people to start arguing my comment section about pretty basic biology. It didn't bother me, but there were comment threads hundreds long filled with 2 brick walls talking to each other. And it was more amusing than upsetting. And there was a ton of positivity in that comment section, but it was funny to me that people took time out of their day to be negative or interact with negativity. I believe in discourse and critical thinking, but opening a comment section and finding a bunch of people who disagree with you probably just means that content isn't for you. You are not a revolutionary, you're a contrarian for the sake of being one. Okay, rant over. Let's get back on topic. Another upside to social media is better accessibility. For example, sites can build in features for those with disabilities, like alt text used to describe photos for those with low vision. A lot aren't perfect, and developers need to listen to what their community needs, but it is a start. Most sites also have terms of service, or at least an on-site culture that helps protect users from harmful content, such as flagging misinformation or tagging content that could be potentially triggering for some. Stumbling across a website with content that makes you uncomfortable is not a fun experience, and it's nice that social media users have found a way to mitigate it. Although, with today's online free speech debates and AI moderation, this can get kind of tricky. Social media can be really hostile. You can make something and get hate, or you can just get bogged down by seeing rough news on your timeline. Studies about what parts of social media are negatively affecting us are mixed based on many demographic and behavioral factors, but I would bet that most of us have been negatively impacted by social media at one time or another. For me, it was when I was a teenager. I was struggling with my mental health, and at the time there was a lot of wallowing, self-pitying content masquerading as depression awareness. I got kind of swept up in the sad girl aesthetic, and for a time it felt like I was understood. But I was seeking the wrong resources. My feed is much more positive now, and that was a deliberate choice by me, but it also coincided with a cultural shift for actual mental health awareness that also took place on social media. And that's growth. That's real-time learning. So what now? Well, it looks like some of our social medias are going to have to make big changes soon. Twitter. I'm not calling it X. If I could design my own social media, I would make it easily accessible, but also customizable. I should be able to see the people I like and then build my network from there. Wait a minute, I'm describing Tumblr. This has been an ad for Tumblr all along. You've been fooled. Okay, but in all seriousness, Tumblr is going more corporate nowadays because they need to make advertiser money to stay afloat, but I still kind of like it as it is currently. And I just love the idea of owning your stuff again. Being able to say, this is my website, I made it. Sounds awesome. And I've done a bit of coding myself, and it's not easy, or at least it doesn't come naturally to everybody. So while I lack the skills to actually build a website, if I had some simple tools given to customize my experience and design, I think that would help me connect with other users online even more. Sometimes I pull up friends pages to show another person who I'm talking about. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words anyway, and I have tons of friends that should not be confined to a plain white profile. The people I love are worth so much more than grids and white backgrounds. They're so much more than 280 characters. And I have tons of passions, and I don't want to be limited by a neutral aesthetic or minimalism or professionalism. In the 90's, people made websites for the same reason we made social media profiles. they wanted to connect with others and share about themselves and the things they care about. And maybe the way we do it now isn't less special, maybe it's just different. Thank you for listening to this episode of Control+S. I had so much fun looking at old websites, and remember, you can too if you check the link in the description. If you liked this episode, or if you're a cult leader looking to indoctrinate your followers, please consider sharing this podcast with someone you think would enjoy it. And this is only the second episode, so any follow, like, or share really helps me grow and share about what I'm passionate about. And if you want to stay updated with Control+S, there are social media links in the description where you can do just that. I'll see you next week where we're going to talk about Windows Movie Maker. For now, I have and will continue to be Macy. Thanks for listening.